G&G's solicitors say the company has no legal, corporate, nor financial ties with Scientology. By whatever route people reach Scientology, once there they discover that total obedience to the cult's hierarchy is the top priority. The elite core of Scientologists at St. Hill dress in naval uniform, a custom stemming from Hubbard's Navy career. As Hubbard on his ocean-going yacht saw it, ordinary members were to obey instructions without question, for their own good.
When somebody enrolls, consider he or she has joined up for the duration of the universe. Never permit an open-minded approach. When Mrs. Pattycake comes to us to be taught, turn that wandering doubt into a fixed, dedicated glare, and she'll win, and we'll all win.
But to Hubbard's mind, the worst offence of all was to quit the ranks and then indulge in open criticism. For such defectors, and indeed for any critics, he had a special venom.
The law can be used very easily to harass, and enough harassment on somebody will generally be sufficient to cause his professional decease. If possible, of course, ruin him utterly.
In another directive, Hubbard orders cult members to stamp out opposition by discrediting and destroying the critic's reputation. He tells them,
1. Spot who is attacking us. 2. Start investigating them promptly for felonies or worse. 3. Start feeding lurid blood, sex, crime, actual evidence on the attackers, to the press.
Hubbard ordered that private detectives be used to enforce these measures. This is one of several private detectives photographed outside the house of a Scientologist defector in East Grinstead who complained he was being harassed. And only last week, a private detective hired by Scientology shot at 2 Sunday Times journalists investigating the cult. Hubbard branded Scientology critics suppressive persons. He said they were fair game and therefore
Maybe deprived of property or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline of a Scientologist. Maybe tricked, sued, or lied to, or destroyed.
One man declared a suppressive person was Marcus Allen. He was chairman of the trustees of Greenfield School near East Grinstead. Though the school says it's independent, it's run by Scientologists. It boasts charitable status in the prospectus. This means substantial cash benefits through tax relief. Marcus Allen became increasingly hostile to the cult because of its demand for total loyalty. He was finally summoned to a meeting at St. Hill Manor, where he says 2 senior officials presented him with reports on his behavior written by other Scientologists. They cross-examined him, then accused him of associating with opponents of the cult.
I was asked if I would stop seeing these people. I said no, I choose my own friends, and I would see the people I chose to see. On that response, they said, well, if you wish to continue seeing these people, you may do so. But we want to know all the conversations you have with them. You must report back to us what is said and who these other people see. I declined the option and left. I was being asked to spy on my friends, which I found extremely distasteful, and from an organization which calls itself a church. I found this almost unbelievable.
Soon after that meeting, Marcus Allen's 14-year-old son, Alexander, was drawn into the dispute. He was about to sit his O-levels at Greenfields. But the day after his father was declared a suppressive, Alexander was called to a meeting with the headmistress and her deputy.
I was waiting in the office to go home, and Margaret Hockin and Mark McQuaid walked in, and they sat down at the desk and said just very simply, until the situation with your father, with Scientology, had been cleared up, it would be best for me to stay at home.
The headmistress, Margaret Hodkin, claimed that Alexander was sent home because his stammer had become worse. She denied he'd been expelled. But Marcus Allen complained his son had been made a scapegoat.
I said this was totally outrageous, that a child could be victimized in this way. So there I was, 15 minutes before the new term was due to begin. My son had no school to go to. I had no satisfactory explanation as to why he had been, in effect, expelled. The experiences I'd been through as a result of Greenfield School and Scientology served really to confirm the belief I'd had that for me to remove myself from any association with Scientology was the correct decision.
Marcus Allen and other critics are determined to expose just what Scientology means. But every day, new people are still being recruited to the cause. It's business as usual at St. Hill today. Even disenchanted ex-members concede that Scientology can help some people. But they say it's obsessed with making money and suppressing opposition, and that families are too often the victims of their loved ones' blind faith. Families like the Lillys, they recall the joyous moment when their daughter Lissa came home, having apparently decided to leave the cult, but she didn't stay. Roger Kay from the Brighton Scientology Centre followed her to the house. When John Lilly told him Lissa might never go back, the Scientologist wasn't satisfied.
Roger Kay said, well, if that was the case, it was very serious, and he would have to consider how much money our daughter owed for all the courses that she'd had. That infuriated me, and I said, well, righto then, Roger, write it down now, and then I shall submit my account to you for all the time and hours that she has worked for you for nothing, and my figure will be more than yours. It didn't happen, of course. We shouldn't have allowed her, you see. We should have physically stopped her, but you don't do that sort of thing. She went back, and then the whole thing starts over again. Very sad.